So this is what we're going to be talking about: collateralized debt obligations or collateralized loan obligation, the CLO.
Because that's like almost like the new name for what it was in the last crash. CDOs were something that were, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it says not all collateralized debt obligations are credit derivatives. For example, a CDO makeup of loans is nearly a securitizing of loans that is then tranched based on its credit rating. This particular securitization is known as a collateralized loan obligation, and the investor receives the cash flow that accompanies the paying of the debtor to the creditor. Essentially, a CDO is held up by a pool of assets that generate cash. A CDO only becomes a derivative when it is used in conjunction with credit default swaps, in which case it becomes a synthetic CDO.
Wait, what? Okay.
The main difference between...
So the particular securitization is known as... Okay, so putting them all together, a whole bunch of loans, is what makes a collateralized loan obligation. And the investor who's fronting the money for all of those is receiving the fees that accompanies, right? Or the interest or whatever on all of those together.
Yeah.
So,
so that's like a pension. If you have a pension and you buy into a CDO that's made up of loans, then you receive the interest when that money comes back. That's the investor.
Okay. Essentially, a CDO is held up by a pool of assets that generate cash.
Yes.
Okay, so it's like a whole bunch of them together.
It's like a bond.
Yeah. And so it's supposed to be very... Okay, CDO only becomes a derivative. What's a derivative again?
A derivative is... it's basically a financial asset that's that's derived from another financial asset. So it's basically, you have a credit default swap, which is basically insurance on it. And so it becomes a bet on the...
Insurance just in case the debtor defaults.
Yes.
If the debtor defaults or if the loans go negative, the insurance, which is the credit default swap, then becomes...
That position then becomes more valuable. Okay, so here's the Big Short explaining this. I pulled up this definition, not so we can poorly explain it, but so we can reference it as we watch these clips. So let's see what a CDO is and how it's going to affect us.
This is your basic mortgage bond. All right? The originals were simple. They were just thousands of AAA mortgages bundled together, guaranteed by the U.S. government. The modern ones are different. They're private, and they're made up of layers of tranches. The highest level AAAs getting paid first, the lowest rated Bs getting paid last, taking on defaults first. Now, obviously, if you're buying Bs, you can make more money, but they're a little risky. Sometimes they fail. Chris?
So basically what this is it's a traditional bond made of a bunch of loans.
But it should be that they all look like A's, right?
Well, no.
Be like
so
B's on top of BB's on top of B's.
So the loans inside the bond, they're individually rated based off of credit. So there's B's, triple B's, or there's B, double B's, triple B's, and then there's A's, double A's, and triple A's. So the B's are worth the least, but then they're the most risky, but you see the most return. And then the double B's are better rated, and then the triple B's are even better rated. So this is what a bond should look like.
It should?
Yes.
The riskiest on the bottom?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because if these fail, well, it doesn't matter. It's just, it can't fail above a certain percent, but this is what they should look like.
Somewhere along the line, these Bs and double Bs went from a little risky to dog shit. Where's the trash?
Behind you.
I'm talking rock bottom FICO scores. No income verification. Adjustable rates, dog shit. The default rates are already up from 1% to 4%, fellas. And if they rise to 8%, and they will, a lot of these triple Bs are going to 0 too. And that, you're too close, is an opportunity.
Okay, you're saying that at 8% the bonds fail, and we are already at 4%?
That's right.
If they go to 8, it's Armageddon.
Yeah, that's right.
How come nobody's talking about this?
No one is paying attention because the banks are too busy getting paid obscene fees to sell these bonds. You want me to really blow your mind? When the market deems a bond too risky to buy, what do you think we do with it? Take a guess.
I don't know, you tell me.
All right. You think we just warehouse it on the books? No. We just repackage it with a bunch of other shit that didn't sell and put it into a CDO.
A CDO.
Yes, a CDO.
What is that?
This is where we take a bunch of Bs, double Bs, and triple Bs that haven't sold, and we put them in a pile. And when the pile gets large enough, the whole thing is suddenly considered diversified. And then the whores at the rating agency give it a 92, 93% AAA rating. No questions asked.
Okay, so that's what a CDO is. Basically, you take out the most garbage, loans, bonds that you couldn't sell. Basically, the Bs and triple Bs that didn't sell. You bunch them all together with a bunch of other bad loans, Bs and triple Bs that didn't sell. All of a sudden, it's considered diversified. The rating agency that rates these, so Standard & Poor's and Moody's, who rates all the bonds, they give it like a triple A rating. And that's what a CDO is. And so a CDO is basically like you as an investor.
Are they ever a good thing?
They used to be when they were correctly rated.
When they didn't
But-
like keep trying to just make fees off of them or whatever.
Right. And so the banks will still sell these because they make money off of selling the bonds. But if the bonds
product,
go
yeah.
under, then
Then the
they-
government has insured them.
No. It doesn't matter because they already made their fees, so they don't
care.
assume any risk for the product. Okay, so let's keep going with this clip. I think there's like 25 seconds left.
Say that again.
A collateralized debt obligation. It's important to understand because it's what allowed a housing crisis to become a nationwide economic disaster.
So mortgage bonds are dog shit. CDOs are dog shit wrapped in cat shit.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Institutions treat these CDOs like they're as solid as treasury bonds, and they're going to zero.
Okay, so I hope we got through what a CDO is. I'm gonna keep this up because we're gonna keep wanting to reference it. So, what is a CLO, and is that an issue? The Rising covered this recently. I think it's worth covering one more time. Let's take a look at this clip.
At the same time, in a piece in Atlantic, they are raising the alarms of a potential banking collapse, similar to what we saw back in 2008. So let me explain this a little bit. So you remember back in 2008 with the housing crisis, the sort of main financial villain in that story was these collateralized debt obligations, which were
CDOs,
just basically
right.
You take these distressed mortgages, you bundle them all up, subprime mortgages, bundle them all up, sell them around. They got rated, very highly rated by the credit ratings agencies, even though they were not solid assets. And that was what really led to the whole systemic collapse of the banking system. Okay, so banks have moved away from CDOs, collateralized debt obligations, and they have moved into CLOs, which are collateralized loan obligations, which are basically the same thing, only it's loans to troubled businesses. Businesses that have maxed out their ability to borrow in other ways. Well, you can imagine.
Right, which of the businesses which go under first in a situation
During a crisis such as we're facing now.
Yeah.
Now, a couple things that might ameliorate that concern. Number one, because of reforms that were passed, these banks are better capitalized than they were at the time. But the individual who did this analysis went in and looked at the amount of, the percentage that the largest banks in the world with the most systemic risk hold of these CLOs, and it's 60% of capital on hand is made up of CLOs, so that is a significant risk. You have a similar dynamic with the credit ratings agencies giving these very high ratings that this analyst does not believe is merited. So massive risk here as businesses go under, and something we've talked about here on the show, whether it's with housing and people not being able to pay their rent, not being able to pay their mortgages, and the domino effect that has. David Dane's covered that effectively very, very well. Or something like this, businesses going under, not being able to pay back their loans, and the way that that ricochets around the financial system. Because the whole economy is so financialized, there is a massive potential domino effect here.
Yeah.
Again.
Okay, so what she said was an analyst looked and saw that 60% of the big banks, their capital on hand consisted of these CLOs, which is basically loan products to
Coming in.
yeah.
That were.
Well, no, I don't think it's that. I think they're also selling what are called, this is what I wanted to talk about, a synthetic CDO or a synthetic CLO, which is not actually more assets being created by actual loans.
It's
There
just a
are
bet against
more
it.
assets created on existing loans. And so it's not right. And so why this becomes so dangerous?
Digital assets.
Kind of why this becomes so dangerous and why Wall Street people are seen as slimy is all going to be explained in this next clip. The synthetic CDO from The Big Short. Let's take a look.
You're worried you and your swaps are getting played? Well, this is an
Oops, let me move this down. All right.
opportunity for you to meet who you're betting against. Try not to get too righteous and listen a little.
Okay, fine. Who is this guy?
And a real solid gold asshole.
I'm a CDO manager.
So this guy, Steve Carell, is a guy. He's a finance guy, but this guy sitting across from him is a CDO manager. So he actually manages
Those huge bonds,
those
or
big,
those-
literal garbage bonds. And so this guy's not stupid. The CDO manager, he knows exactly what they are. So let's see.
Well, and they know finance. They know numbers really well.
Exactly. So he
Really
knows
good.
exactly what he's doing. So let's take a look at this.
CDO manager.
The Harding Advisors.
I didn't realize that there was anything to manage with CDOs.
No. We select the securities that go into the CDO portfolio and monitor the assets. I do most of Merrill Lynch CDOs.
Do you represent the investors or Merrill Lynch?
The investors.
You do.
Yeah.
But Merrill Lynch isn't going to send you any customers unless you put Merrill Lynch's bonds in your CDO.
Good question. Let's just say Merrill and I have a good relationship.
You have a good relationship with Merrill Lynch.
We've been doing business together for a long
And so
time.
the CDOs that you create are of the highest quality and the
So basically, he's a CDO manager. And Steve Carell's asking him, "Do you work for the bank or do you work for the investor?" And that's a big difference because it's like, do you work for the people creating the product or do you?
Which is Merrill Lynch.
Yes, which is a bank, Merrill Lynch, or do you work for the people who are buying into the product? And he claims,
Selling to.
yeah, he says the
He
investors.
says he's a broker then.
Yeah, he says he's working on behalf of the investor. So he's like a fund or something. But Steve Carell is saying, but you're only selling CDOs with bonds that belong to Merrill Lynch. And Merrill Lynch, right, and Merrill Lynch will only send you customers unless you sell them these products, right? And so he's like, it's like a car salesman that only works for one dealer, but he claims to be independent.
This is why there's so many rules with
Right.
financial transactions.
And so it's like he's like wolf and he's like accusing him of being wolf in sheep's clothing at this point. He's like, or in a way where he's like, you claim to be working for the investors, but you're actually working for the bank.
Well, he's probably just saying I work for both.
Right. Well,
It's not
no, but
mutually
he doesn't say
exclusive.
both. He says the investors.
Oh.
Okay, let's keep going.
highest of value.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
He's like,
Are
well,
you
if
at
it's
all
ship
concerned-
bond A or ship bond B, why not make ship bond B where I make money?
Yeah, he's explaining that right now.
Oh, okay, sorry.
about rising default rates?
I assume no risk for these products myself.
So he's saying, I assume no risk for these products. So he's asking about the quality. He's like, these bonds are the highest quality. And he's like, I assume no risk for them. So he knows they're garbage. He knows exactly what they are. He knows he's selling garbage to these people, but he's fine with it because he makes fees. And the banks keep keep sending him these clients because he keeps selling them their product.
Yes.
And so he knows what the game
They
is.
just need to liquidate real fast.
Yeah, so right away, he already knows what the game is. And that's why he's like, I assume no risk for these products.
I'm just moving. I'm just the
Right.
I'm the mule.
He's like, yeah, he's like a financial drug dealer. Anyways, let's go on.
Okay. So let me get this straight. The bank calls you up. They give you the bonds they want to sell. They give you clients. They give you money to run your business. Give you fat fees for doing so. But you represent the investors?
See, so he
that
has
right?
they supported him or financed him to make his own office. Because I was like, you can't do this in finance. Like you
Yeah.
have to be a third party,
Exa-
whatever.
yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
to be a broker. I'm like, he can't work for the.
Exactly. But he's
So
claiming
he has to say investor, but they're the bank's the one that gives him his office space, the money for like
the product he's selling, the
basically
bonds he's selling and recommending. Yeah, all of
already
it.
giving him the loans he needs to set up his small business or mid business, and then.
And he knows exactly what he's doing. That's why.
Well, yeah, it's like a little franchise that they helped him set up, and
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, I'll run your.
It's like, yeah, I'll sell your garbage.
I'll run your McDonald's. That's horrible.
But we're not in the Merrill Lynch building.
Okay, where
We're
are
in
you?
New Jersey.
You're 20 minutes away.
Well, 5 Visa helicopter. It's funny, huh?
He's like, we're not in the Merrill Lynch building. We're in New Jersey.
Yeah,
and he's
they
like,
can't be in the
yeah.
same
And so
building.
he's like, okay, 20 minutes away. He's like, 5 by helicopter. He's such a. I mean, okay. I mean, I know this is a movie character, but yeah. So let's see the rest of the
You've never
CDO
met finance
manager.
people like this? Oh, I've gone to some finance meetings when I was like, oh, I can go into
Well, sure. If
accounting and
your
financial
entire
stuff, but
value
I'm like,
system
whoa.
relies on the dollar, then yeah, sure.
It gave me an ulcer in my.
All right,
I-
let's keep going.
That's hilarious.
Oh boy. Your boss is about to explode.
No, he's
Hold
too
on,
curious to
hold on,
explode.
Hold on. Say that again. CDO A has parts of CDO B, and CDO B has parts of CDO A, but then they both get put inside CDO C.
Yeah, that one's called CDO squared. CDO of a CDO. Right? And then there's CDOs made up of the opposite side of the bet you made with your swaps. We call them synthetic CDOs.
What did you Synthetic CDOs.
Synthetic CDOs.
That is fucking crazy.
It's not. It's awesome.
So the reason why a synthetic CDO isn't actually another bond of loans. It's just referencing two other loans, and you just made a new product to sell out of nowhere. So that's why he says that's fucking crazy, because it's like you're selling bullshit. And he says, no, it's awesome, because he's like, it's another thing I can sell. So
He's like, I create financial products. I'm creating another financial product to sell, and it makes shit tons of money.
I think
who cares?
yeah, that's
He's like, yeah, financial product. That's what he does.
That's why he says awesome. But why he says it's crazy is everything you sell of this synthetic CEO is going to go to zero. So every person that buys this, they're going to lose every money that they spent on this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he's like, that's fucking crazy. And he says, no, it's awesome. Like, look how rich I am.
And he's probably like, also these guys are billionaires, and this is just play money anyways. They don't realize what it means for the people who actually live and
they're just
use
seeing
the assets that have been betted upon.
All right, let's
as
keep going.
like the actual people living in the homes.
Let's keep going with this Supreme sleaze bag.
Face is starting to boil. He looks like the bad guy from Doom.
All right, let's say you have a pool of 50 million in subprime loans. How much money could be out there betting on it in your synthetic CEOs and swaps right now, tonight?
Is it 50 million? $1 billion.
What?
If the mortgage bonds that Michael Burry
$1 billion out on it. So hold on, they're going to explain it really quick.
discovered were the match,
How much bigger is the market for insuring mortgage bonds than actual mortgages?
About 20 times.
if the mortgage bonds were the match, and the CDOs were the kerosene-soaked rags, then the synthetic CDO was the atomic bomb with the drunk president holding his finger over the button.
So they compare the synthetic CEO to an atomic bomb when it comes to a crisis. So exactly what you said. There would be like on 50 million of actual loans, the amount of synthetic CDOs built on top of that would be worth 20 times as much, which
so
is
it'd be $1 billion loss, not a 50.
right on $50 million worth of loans. Yeah, it's $1 billion loss is basically what it becomes. So everyone who, that's what the CDO only becomes a derivative when it is used in conjunction with a credit default swap, in which case it becomes a synthetic CDO, which means a credit default swap is just basically insurance on the original CDO. Yeah, insurance. Well, in either case, you either makes money or it fails.
Well, you also get insurance because you're pretty sure that something might happen and you need someone to pay out your original.
Right. And so now that we understand what a synthetic CDO is basically it's basically just a CDO made up of existing CDOs, but not actually any new loans. The Big Short illustrates how this can grow into a catastrophe. So let's keep going with this clip.
Again.
It was
Oh,
at
shoot.
that moment in that dumb restaurant with that stupid look on his face that Mark Baum realized the whole world economy might collapse.
What the fuck is a synthetic CDO?
Well, here's Dr. Richard Thaler, father of behavioral economics, and Selena Gomez to explain.
Okay, so here's how a synthetic CDO works. Let's say I bet 10 million on a blackjack hand.
10 million because this hand is meant to represent a single mortgage bond.
So that 10 million, Selena Gomez's bet actually represents the actual loan.
50 million, he says.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Selena has a pretty good hand here, showing 18, dealer showing 7. That's a really good hand for Selena. Good odds. In fact, her chances of winning this hand are 87%.
So, my odds are good. I'm on a winning streak. Everybody in this place wants to get in on the action. How could I lose, right?
Now, this is a classic error. In basketball, it's called the hot hand fallacy. A player makes a bunch of shots in a row. People are sure they're going to make the next one. People think whatever's happening
odds
now
are good
is going to
anyways.
continue to happen into the future. During the real estate boom, markets were going up and up, and people thought they would never go down.
So people who are watching and think that I won't lose will make a side bet. Now this is the first synthetic CDO.
I love Selena Gomez. I bet you 50 million she wins, and I'll give you 3-to-1 odds.
3-to-1 odds? Okay, I'll take that bet.
Now, somebody else is going to want to make a bet on the outcome of their
Bet you
bet.
50 million she wins.
That will lead to synthetic CDO number 2.
Hey, I bet you 200 million that lady in the glasses wins that bet.
She probably will win. So I want a great payoff.
How about 20-1?
Deal.
And this will go on with more and more synthetic CDOs.
And we can transform an original $10 million investment into billions of dollars.
You okay?
No. I actually feel pretty sick. So I'm going to leave.
You think I'm a parasite, don't you, Mr. Ball? But apparently society values me very much. In fact, let's do this. I'll tell you how much I'm worth. You tell me how much you're worth.
God, you are an incredibly big piece of shit.
Oh man.
Well, lucky for him, there's a lot of dung beetles.
So yeah, that is what a synthetic CDO is, and that is what 60% of banks' capital on hand exists, probably because they keep selling
Products. They sell financial products.
garbage
They make
products.
their own products and they sell them. And they're always going to win. They're like the house.
Yeah, so
it's
if
a gambling walk, but they're the house. They're going to keep making products. That's why they waited until they can pay out that guy who bought against the.
so we were
I mean the.
we saw how like 50% or 60%, some huge number of like businesses can't make their rent. It's like they can't make their rent, they can't make like their loan payments, and when those default, just like the Jenga tower analogy, it's like the whole Jenga tower falls. But it's not just the Jenga tower that falls. It's not just like the 50 million or whatever the bond that falls. It's all of those derivatives. So it's like all of those bets placed on top of it. So that's how that's how
an economy can lose billions.
Yeah.
When it was like, wait, the original was just that was on the table.
Yes.
And the only thing that's there, those chips, the assets is 10 million or whatever.
Yeah, it's betting on
how
something,
did
and
someone
it's
lose $1 billion.
And you have scumbags like that guy who's selling this product that he knows is gonna go bad, and he's selling it because he's too busy getting paid these obscene fees. Hi everyone, hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more.
Happy 420 wherever you are. Bye.
And if you don't have buds, we're your buds.